Scott, Scott, have you started the live stream yet?
Yeah, he just did.
Oh, there it is. Yeah.
I'm going to mute me. I got the answering machine. So, how long do we wait? And what do we don't have any, we don't have anybody from Ship Daddy, is that correct?
No, they canceled for this evening.
And we don't have Jason, is that correct?
Well, so far, I guess, he did say he was going to call in, but I guess, I mean, it's 8 minutes after. I guess we ought to just get started and hope people catch up.
Yep, we can't, we have July's minutes, but at least it'll be recorded. We can put out there what we have. And if anyone wants to view it, they may. So, all right. Hey, Jack, can you do minutes? Bobby will not be here. She's on vacation.
Okay.
I saw those eyebrows go up and those eyes roll.
Yeah.
Good news is Bobby's changing jobs. She'll be working like 9 to 5 or whatever, you know, those normal hours Monday through Friday. So
Good for her.
yeah, that's exciting. All right. Call to order. Here's my gavel at 7:08. Present are Jack and Lucy, and then we got Troy, Kirk, Matt, Shannon, and we won't count Scott. You can count Scott too. Make it seem like more. Oh, Jack, the other thing is it's recorded. You can catch it up on YouTube if you want to tighten up the minutes. Do you know what I mean? So,
Right.
All right. Any citizen comments? No citizen. Oh, there's somebody. Or did somebody leave? What happened there?
Well, Troy's not there right now.
Yeah, it looked like Troy dropped out.
Well, that's kind of rude.
I guess he's just bored.
Well, he's first on the agenda.
It's a short meeting.
We have the July minutes, but we can't approve them. I did not get September's written up. So hopefully next meeting we'll, Troy's kind of here.
You're saying we can't approve because we don't have a quorum?
Correct. Is that right? Right. Matt's shaking his head yes. And we can see him. So that's good. All right. New business. There you go, Troy. You're on. Oh wait, is there any old business? The only old go ahead.
Do we approve the minutes of July? Oh, we can't. Never mind. Sorry.
No worries.
A phasic.
Kind of sprung that on you, like, hey Jack, take minutes. I will wait till Shannon to go over what I would consider old business because he touches on most of that. Did you all get Shannon's written update by email from Fred?
Yes.
Okay, good. So let's go to new business, which will be the presentation of Newville Borough Zoning Ordinance rewrite by Troy Truax of Michael Baker International.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Thank you. I do the bow there, Lucy.
Hey, thanks, Lucy and everybody. So as an update, I'm just giving a verbal update like I did last time. Again, eventually the Planning Commission will be presented the full document. But last month, we presented to the task force. Almost everybody on this call is on that task force, but we presented the supplemental regulations draft, and then Kirk did a good job of giving some comments back. So I've been working through those comments. Plus, I've taken another crack at the parking standards. And actually, I think a good case study is what's before you with respect to the challenges that the ribbon mill will have with respect to parking and the parking under your current regulations. I know Kirk had some feedback on it. You know, if you did the calculations, Kirk, what was the number? Like 200 and some spaces they would be required to provide off-street parking for their 40,000 square foot facility.
Well, I think it was 140,000 square feet, right? And I think it was 200 for the existing ordinance.
Yeah, so whatever that is, it was a big number. I mean, a big number to the point. So what we've tried to look at is, another approach at the parking. So I have a kind of revised draft of that section into Kirk, and Kirk's going to get back to me on some comments. But so that section's drafted. Again, comments were addressed from what I got from Kirk, which were good comments. And then I'm almost done with the sign regulations. In fact, today, Matthew, Kirk, and I had a brief call to talk about a particular section in there, but that will be ready for our discussion. We have a meeting with the task force next week, so I'll have that out to everybody early next week. That section, that would be the Article 6 signs. So I'll have that out to everybody next week before next Thursday. I think it's next Thursday, right? Is our meeting. And we'll go through that. So that'd be good. Actually, once we get that's kind of like aside from definitions being written, which that'll be like my next piece. But the definitions are the definitions, which are critically important to the document. But the majority of the document's drafted. So I think a good milestone to reach here before Thanksgiving is to be in that position where we have pretty much the whole document. So I would expect by Thanksgiving, I'll have the definitions all wrapped up. And then we can kind of think about from the task force, if you have any more comments. And I think the goal would be, to get it to a point where we can start to move it through the adoption process.
Well, and Kirk, you will go. I'm sorry about the cat. I've been gone all day and she's like starved for food and attention. Will you go over the definitions, because those are important? I mean, that's like the definitions that Troy's talking about, and Matt. I mean, we should too. The task.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you'll see those definitions too, Lucy. That I'll get those. That'll be like that's the final section that I'll put together, and obviously those definitions. So the sign regulations have their own set of definitions within the sign. So one way I've set the document up, we try to keep those definitions within that same article. And then as we've talked before, there's a section on uses. So we have all the uses defined in Article 3. And then overall, all others definitions pertaining to the ordinance are defined in that final section, Article 6. But yeah, that you'll have a chance. So the goal would be there. I mean, that's as Shannon well knows, you need to have a good set of definitions, because a lot of times your interpretation, enforcement, administration is based upon your definitions.
Well, that's Jack and I took a class last spring. I don't remember the name of it actually, but we did learn that. One thing I learned, remembered, is the definitions are a very, very important part of the document.
Yeah, so absolutely. Yeah. They could make or break a zoning decision based upon your definition, either in your favor or not in your favor. Okay. So we'll have that ready to go. And again, that by design, that was the last section, because we're kind of culminating all the definitions that need to be defined based upon the other pertinent articles that need to be have the words, so the terms included.
Thank you.
So I don't know. I mean, I know that was a short update, but again, I think to start showing information to this group, I think is a visual showing is a little bit premature until the task force gets their work done.
I agree. Does anybody have any questions for Troy? Okay, not having any. I'm just going to look at my agenda. I did look at it. So I don't think our correspondence is actually via email from Shannon. We do have a letter from Shannon at the back, which refers to Ship Daddy, that they would not be, of course, ready for this meeting. So I'm just gonna, if anyone, unless someone objects, I would like to move on to Shannon's report. I didn't, I guess, Michael and Jack, did you have time to go over this section of the agenda?
The Shannon's report, the
line items, not the written. I really enjoy the written report because that like makes sense.
yeah, I did get a quick look at it, but I didn't really look at it in depth.
I read every line, but I can't tell you what they all said.
That was a better answer. I
Yeah.
remember that.
What's 23 North Corporation Street? Exterior and interior repairs and renovation. I guess I'm asking Shannon.
Is that the Lee Richwine property? Let me look down here at that. North Corporation 23. Yes, that is Lee Richwine has one of the row houses there on the left-hand side of North Corporation. He had some severe exterior stuff, which actually had some code enforcement going on with, and they had a little bit of a roof leak. I guess a couple of years ago, there was a fire on the interior of the house, and it's been vacant for a while. I've got him to agree to get the property fixed up. He's actually going to have his daughter and his son and daughter-in-law move in there hopefully next spring. They're coming back from Wisconsin. They've already cleaned up the vines that were growing on the outside, replaced the side windows, fixed up the roof leak while working with the neighbor that, because apparently the exhaust fan was where it was leaking, and it was actually going in between the two buildings, or the two homes. So that's really what it is. And it's just, whenever they get past just doing some drywall, they're actually doing renovations. He wanted to get his zoning permit in. So.
Cool.
What address is that again, please? Shannon, what
again?
What address are we talking about here for the minute?
23 North Corporation.
Okay. Thank you.
And it's across the street from that. You'll see a temporary one went up because there was a fire in a house across the street from that at 20, not long, just last month.
So what does temporary land use after fire on at 20 North Court?
I wanted to immediately get them approval to go ahead and do what they needed to do in there. I literally wrote a temporary one up, and I'll work with the Varners there for anything that they do need. Right now, I don't believe they're going to need anything because it's just smoke damage, and they're just going to be doing basic paint and drywall. And I don't think they're going to be updating anything to that effect. But I wanted to make sure that if anybody stopped by and seen them, I wanted to have something up on the door there that they knew what was going on. Chief had taken care of getting the the dumpster out there and the pod out there on the street. Whenever you go down the corporation and see it on the right, that's wanted to let everybody know we knew what was going on. So
Cool. I'm going to jump also to 21 West Big Spring Ave. I'm trying to picture which building that is. I'm not even. It's on the north side of the street, right? I believe somewhere close to the police department. Is that right? Or am I on the wrong side?
You're on the wrong side. That would be close to the police. Okay, 17 is the funeral home, and it's a couple after that. They've been doing the addition there. That permit has been ongoing since 3 years ago. They're about finalizing it now.
Who is that?
It's just, I'd have to pull it up. I don't know the names of everybody off the top of my head. Give me a second, I can tell you.
All right.
Which one is that? That's 20. Barrick.
Okay. I wondered. And so that is, and so they're adding on in the back, because there's no room on the front or side.
It's if you've been back there, he's not doing anything he's finalizing what they've been doing for the last 2 years. Okay. I believe it was on the back side, there's an addition up there that was already built before I even came in, but they didn't finish siding it in, and didn't finish the interior parts and permits. And he has to keep the Newville permit up to date to keep the UCC permits up and running.
Gotcha. Who did we lose? Kirk.
Kirk, yes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, that one, Fred started that one back in August of 2018. So, and it's literally I think he's going to be done with it, hopefully. And that was a 6-month extension back in 2018. So I'm going to say that he actually started that probably in 2017 is when that addition started.
Okay. I hope Kirk gets back on because, well, we can. Does anybody else have any questions for Shannon on the list of permits?
No, I don't.
There's a lot going on. Good.
Yeah.
So I would like to go then to Shannon to your written report. If you do mind us
Sure.
going through that item by item.
I can. And when we get to the Ship Daddy one, I'm going to give you a different update than what's on here because that has changed again today. So,
okay.
And I'll go over that with everybody when we get to that. All right. Going back to the Kirk back on yet? No. The first part here he'll be all right with. The Bulldog Academy there at West Big Spring at the corner there of High Street and West Big Spring. It's up and running if everybody hasn't noticed that already. The church next door, they're also doing a bathroom, I believe, in there. And that one has already had its final occupancy, and it should be up and running as of today. I didn't see it running this morning, but I was only through town at 11 o'clock, and I didn't notice it at that point. The convenience store had a lot of updates going on. They got their HVAC in. They've got a new sewer lateral was installed and inspected by Newville Water and Sewer Authority. They've got their walk-in coolers on the inside are already installed. The wiring is coming along. PMCA is coming up for their first inspection on the wiring this coming week. The roof has already been done. I put in here that after talking with the owner, she was hoping to be open in 3 weeks. That is a very, very ambitious plan, according to the contractor. He's thinking more of like 2 months. But she, of course, is pushing for the 3 weeks. But I'll be very surprised if they are that quick. Brothers Pizza, if you drive down the alley there behind them, you'll see that their new walk-in cooler is in. And it's a very nice little one that's back there for them. It was reported from the borough manager that 7 to 9 South High Street, where San Jose Cafe was going to go in at, that another local business or local investor is looking at buying that property and still using it to put in some sort of cafe or coffee shop. But that's no longer going to be the San Jose Cafe. I think they, with COVID and everything, may have had some fund issues. 75 East Main Street decided not to do turn it into a 2-family dwelling, and they were going to keep it as a single-family dwelling. And they pulled all their in all of their reports and said to not consider them going forward. So that's just more of an information for you guys.
Why?
Edmund Fuels over on
Shannon.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Lucy.
Yeah.
No.
Do you have to, if it's a remodeling, if they're doing it 75 East Main, do you need permits?
No, that's not what's going on. The dumpster that's down there, the tenants that were in there are still moving, and they got a dumpster because they had that much stuff. So all of that.
Paint and pretty it up inside for rental.
If she does, then she'll need to get us just a land use permit. If it's just painting and stuff, they don't need one. But if they're going to decide to do some renovations and actually, change out more than a couple things, then they should get a renovation permit, which is $35. And I don't think Kathy would have any problem with that. So,
okay, thank you.
You know why they decided to?
Did somebody else say something?
Yeah. Do you know why they decided not to do 2 apartments?
Yeah, after we were looking at it and looked at the parking again, they actually would need 6 parking spots, not 4. And to do that, they would actually have to tear down that garage back there and the carport. And they didn't want to get into all of that. They felt that it was just going to be too cost expensive.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Anything else on that one?
Not for me.
Moving on to Edmund Fuels. They're just finishing up the concrete in sections. They've got another large section that was completed if you drive over that way. 111 Broad Street, property owner there finally did his demolition. We had a permit out for 2 years, but he got it all done. Did a very good job of backfilling in and returning it to grade. I would be remiss if I didn't say I would expect him to come in and be looking at putting in some sort of land development plan to probably do townhomes or townhouses there. He's got 3 properties in a row, and that's part of the reason of returning it to grade, so that he had it more valuable and could create something decent there. I would be prepared for that. Lobar Associates was informed by borough manager that they'll be putting in a handicapped walkway and a new handicapped parking space over at the trailhead. And then on to Ship Daddy. As everybody earlier, Lucy, you weren't here, a couple others weren't here. Basically, the Grove report traffic assessment, we were told by FSA today we could throw that in the garbage. It was not a proper traffic assessment.
You were Shannon, by whom?
There was a report, traffic assessment by Grove. Okay, FSA is the engineering group that has been engaged and brought on by Trent Bond and Ship Daddy, and they're a pretty good group. Let me pull that up here. I got the wrong one. Where are you at? And they'll be the ones that are going to be preparing it in state. They're looking at being ready for next month in November, but they're looking to come in with a plan that's going to be done in 3 stages. The first stage that they're looking at doing will be the Ship Daddy on the west end. Let me double check and make sure I'm saying the right ends. Will be Ship Daddy operation limited to the west end of the building in the new warehouse. Then the number 2 will be in the middle, for which they are looking at a mixed use purpose and proposal. And then phase 3 will be in the east end of the project, where the receiving and the warehouse end of the old plant. They know that the traffic study with its 160 employee estimate was incorrect. They feel that the 18 tractor trailer deliveries a week was overly large compared to what they feel it's going to be. He wasn't, according to Justin Dottie, they weren't even aware of the Grove study until then, and they are saying that it's completely inaccurate. The employee number projected, they said, is skewed, and the number of tractor trailer deliveries is overstated. He blamed it on a numbers program, but I'll leave it to them to figure out and come up with and explain the proper traffic study that needs to happen there. There's when me and the borough manager were discussing it, the Grove one was severely inadequate. Troy had pointed it out as well. The parking was severely inadequate. And the analysis that will need to be done, and just some of the smaller shortcomings of the plan were loading dock there. We don't even know if that's going to be able to accommodate a 20 tractor trailer. According to the borough manager, that used to only accommodate a 20-foot box truck. And he's concerned that it might block Hurst Street. The number of tractor trailers a week would have been 2 an hour from 9 to 2, 1 every 2 hours between 9 and 3. He suggested, getting core samples from Broad Street because of how long it's been since it's been resurfaced. Discussing it with him, we both thought that the alignment of Broad Street and Walnut Street needs to be more thoroughly addressed. All of that should be done by FSA, and I think it will be, and it should be properly addressed. When I spoke with Trent today, when he called me, they just really felt that they weren't in a position to come in and present anything yet. They want to come in with a proper plan and proper and future proposals for what they want to do, and they think that they will be able to do that next month. So I'm happy to throw away the Grove traffic report, because that was more of a report than it was a analysis.
The FSA that you spoke of is an engineering company, is that?
Yes, yes.
I think always, if I hear FSA, I think Farm Service, and that's not what this is. I was like, wow, okay. All right.
No, I think, Troy, you said you've worked with Justin before.
Yeah, I've worked with Justin a lot. He's well known here in the Carlisle area, Cumberland County area. He does a lot of work for the private sector land development. So he's great. Again, FSA, they're an engineering site civil type firm out of Hagerstown, but they have an office here in Carlisle. They've had an office in Carlisle for a number of years, and Justin is the office manager.
What's his last name?
And he often represents in front of municipalities. I know in South Middleton, he's been here on numerous occasions with the Planning Commission, doing presentations and running projects through the land development process. He's good. He's really good.
What's his last name?
That's good. Along with them, they've also engaged Crabtree, Robar, and Associates.
Jack would like to
Lucy,
know
you look like your
last name. Jack would like
Say
to
that
know,
again?
Jack would like to know Justin's last name.
Thank you.
Justin's last name is Doty.
Doty. D-O?
Mm-hmm.
D-Y?
Yep.
Okay, I'm taking the minutes.
T-Y.
T-Y.
Yeah.
D-O-T-Y, Jack.
Got it. Thank you.
T-Y.
The other information I was able to get from them was that they've engaged Crabtree, Robaugh and Associates. Also, they're an architectural firm. They've also engaged Laura Pothoff. She's the director of business and workforce development for Cumberland Area Economic Corporations, and they're working with her to hopefully get assistance and grants for the building itself. But they seem to be moving more towards where they need to be at. I think that as they're getting more and more involved in this land development process, they're realizing that it's not just renting a warehouse. They're actually going to have to go through a lot, and they're starting to come to that understanding, and they're starting to engage the right people. I think their initial reaction was to hopefully get in there right away and just start going, and now they're starting to realize the process, and I think they're moving in the right direction. So.
Thank you, Troy. And they're still very interested in it?
Yes, they were down there today with Justin. They were down at the site today, and they are planning on coming back with those 3 phases next month. That's Justin has in FSA has committed to having those 3 phases presented next month.
Right. Then who was the person at the economic development that you mentioned?
I was told that Laura Pothoff. I don't know the name. Might be Pothoff. She's director of business and workforce development for Cumberland Area Economic Development Corporation.
Yeah, we know her.
Yep, Pothoff. P-O. Yep.
Perfect. Well, that's exciting. I'm glad to hear all that. Anything else, Shannon?
Right now, West End is really coming along. I mean, you got Ed Mill Phil's coming in. You got Chuck Adams bringing down all that place. It looks like he's going to build something over there. The convenience store coming along, and the warehouse maybe getting somebody in there. Looking good. So hopefully it'll all stay positive and everybody can get along. That's I think everybody's big concern is the traffic coming through there. That will be the concern.
So just out of curiosity, what if it's found out that Broad Street can't handle, I mean, are these guys looking at 53-foot tractor trailers? Or what happens if Broad Street can't handle it? That's a question for their traffic analysis. I think that Broad Street is the obvious best choice coming in. 533, once you get into Fairfield, is too difficult. And I don't know, obviously the feed mill is getting them in down there, but we've, the number and the weight is where, obviously the impact on the road is the big deal. And that's where we're really going to have to watch. And then I think if they curtail it to the daylight hours while people are at work, it may not be too cumbersome on the neighborhood, but when you're talking 100, even if they only go to 100 employees, I think the ribbon mill maxed out at 90, and that's a large number coming in and out of there. Whether it's those cars, for all the employees coming in and out, the trucks coming in and out, the box trucks coming in and out, because none of this is discussing the box trucks that are going to be leaving there. Who knows how many hours, times an hour, or 3 times a day, once a day. I don't know. Those are things that are going to have to be addressed. When you say a box truck, what does that mean?
A UPS truck. That's how they're planning on having these big deliveries come in, and then a UPS size truck or an FedEx truck going out. So.
Well, I'm glad there are people who know what to look for and that they are looking for it, because I'm afraid I would be right where they are. Like, yeah, okay, great idea, go for it. And it's a bit more involved than that.
Yeah,
Yeah, Lucy,
it's quite a bit involved, but I think they're moving the right way. So
Lucy, a box truck, when he says UPS truck, it's not like the UPS truck that comes to your door with a delivery. It's like the Penske rental trucks you see going up and down the road. It's a straight truck is another term for them.
So how long is one of those?
Typically, there'll be about a 26-foot box on behind the cab.
Oh, all right. So, but is it connected to the cab?
Yes, it's
Okay.
all one unit, and I am hoping to be able to arrange to talk to these fellows a little bit, since I've got something of an inside knowledge with transportation industry, and talk to them about what their plans are and what kind of volume, and maybe make some suggestions for alternatives to if the only thing they're considering right now is tractor trailers coming in. Depending on what they're doing and what they're getting, there may be some alternatives that we can reduce the number of trailers coming in too. So we'll see. We'll wait and see. I'd really like to wait and see what FSA comes back with, and then we can work from that. But I think they're looking to mitigate the problems to the neighborhood as much as possible. They're talking about only having trucks in there during daytime hours when fewer people are at home anyway, and so that's huge, because if you don't have trucks running up and down the street when people are eating dinner in the evening at home in the evening, that's a big deal right there. So they seem to be thinking ahead and trying to look at all the angles, so that I give them credit for that.
I guess we'll see next month, huh?
And I guess we'll find out next month, the mixed use for the middle, because I think the end they're using is 40,000 square feet that they want to start with their actual business, the west end of the building. When they say mixed use in the middle, did they have indication of what that might mean? Or do we don't even talk about it because we don't know?
I don't want to talk about it because I didn't get any indication. All I got was what we heard last month, where they had some thoughts on what they could do. But that's all that I got.
And what was the third Alex, section about? Shannon, I didn't quite pick that up.
The third phase was, moving on to, I wrote it down here. Give me a sec.
What?
He's looking it up.
Okay.
Yeah, the third phase was, the east end, what was the receiving and the warehouse end of the old plant. And that's all they said was, and phase 3 will be the east end.
Okay.
So, I don't know more than that at this point. I got the 3 phases. First was they want to open up the new warehouse side. And then second would be the mixed use. And then third would be what did they do down at the other end. So.
Okay. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they have anything to say about having some community uses for that part of that building, as we discussed the last time, where they might let some space so that there could be some, amenities put into the building that would help with the economic development activities here, the things that face the trail, that sort of thing. I guess we'll see.
I think they're still interested in that. From my talk with Trent, because I've talked to him a couple of times over the last couple of weeks, they're still interested in all of those things. I think that from the first meeting I had with him by myself down at PMCA, whenever he came down there to start going over what he actually needed to do, he was a little overwhelmed, but we sent him the right direction. And then when he came back with I think he went to Grove and told them what he needed as far as the traffic study went. we got that assessment, and all it was them pretty much putting on paper what he told them they wanted to do, not an actual traffic impact analysis.
Yeah.
And then he was moved on to, when he moved to FSA, I think that's where he finally realized this is where I need to be. These guys are going to move me in the right direction. And that's why I think that FSA was the one that advised him to pull out of the meeting tonight.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
Thank you, Shannon.
Mm-hmm.
So we're leaving, guys. That's okay. Do we have any other comments from anybody?
I had one quick question. Maybe I should have raised this when we were talking about the minutes, but in the minutes from last time, we said the historic overlay district may only apply to the 22 identified historic structures. And we raised the issue of whether it might include all structures over 50 years old. And I think Troy and Matthew were going to talk about getting a better fix on that. Do we know anything more?
Yeah, in terms of the inventory, Jack, is what you're talking about?
Well, I think what we had talked about and what the notes are talking, the minutes are talking about here is, I think you told us that the historic overlay is only going to apply to the 22 identified historic structures, which was a surprise to a lot of us. And I think that was going to be
the overlay. The overlay will be largely consistent with the current historic district boundary. So the overlay boundary, the historic overlay itself, will follow the historic district boundary, the National Register PHMC approved historic district boundary.
Okay, but then
if that answers your question.
Well, our concern though was that we'd addressed this same issue then. Our purpose in requesting something with a historic overlay was to preserve the older structures in the character of the structures in the borough in general, not just the identified and registered historic structures. And so that was
right. And what
Matt, we're going to follow up on and see what we could, how we could protect.
Yep. And our solution to that, as we talked probably a meeting or two ago, was that we included in the historic overlay, we included additional language in there for like infill development. So that language was in there. We talked about that. And then also too, outside the historic district in the supplemental regulations, we had devised some language on building demolition and requirements. So it's a little bit akin to what's in the historic overlay district. And we also had that information reviewed with PHMC. Brian Van Sweden lended his expertise to review that language. So I think, the goal was to not just protect structures within the historic district, but also give some regulation to protect structures like basically the demolition type of and then we included in that supplemental regulations too, Michael, with that building demolition, what do you do about infill? So it kind of mirrors the language in the historic district overlays, but I think we collectively decided we need to have how to deal with it within the historic district and how to deal with outside the historic district. So that language is in the ordinance.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, Michael, it was just
the draft ordinance.
Right.
Yeah, the draft.
You had referenced another borough that had basically kind of done language of protected structures that were more than 50 years old, and so I know that was something you had talked about doing here. So I think that was a little bit of what Jack was asking about, was whether
Right.
that is what we're doing here, or
we talked about it. We talked about it, but ultimately it's potentially too difficult to enforce to be able to say everything over a certain age and it not be listed as an identified historic structure. And so as sort of a plan B, rather than trying to expand the historic district to the entire borough, essentially we did beef up the supplemental regulations for demolition, which is a large part of what we're concerned about. We didn't want to get into the nitty gritty about exactly what the house should look like in every detail, but we definitely want to try to protect people from just, being able to easily, or too easily, I should say, demolish historic structures. That's about the best we can do and feel confident that we can, well protect and enforce a new ordinance.
Why is that? Why is that?
Why is that? Mostly because to be able to have a historic district, you have to be able to really have specifics as to what makes it historic. And while there may be municipalities that say anything over 50 years, if we did that, it literally would be the whole borough. And that's just a little too expansive. I mean, Troy may have a little more detail on that, but that's my takeaway.
Well,
Yeah, that's part of the issue is when you need to have standards, and part of that evaluation is if you'd apply that measuring stick of 50 years, almost every single building would succumb to under some type of evaluation where it would almost be prohibitive. Like, so buildings that that, hey, there's no value there, it would come under the same scrutiny as any other building. So that's one thing that we've done too, is to there's a inventory of contributing and non-contributing structures that PHMC has done. So that language is in there. So there's some guidance in the current ordinance that actually helps hone in on what are those important structures.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
And that inventory, is one that, again, is part of that PHMC inventory.
Okay.
The other part of it is too, if we.
So I think, I know when we talk.
When we have
No,
the
go ahead,
task,
Troy.
when we have the task force meeting next week, can we go through this so we understand the details of this? I mean, I'm kind of following it, but I get the point about beefing up the regs for demolition, but what you're talking about right now is not clear to me. So maybe instead of taking up our time now, we could make that part of the agenda next week.
Yeah, yep, for sure, Jack.
And I'm going to review, I don't know if it was July's meeting or September's. I think it might have been July's, where Bobby researched it, and she said that there were 100 and some odd, I forget that, it was like 100 and some odd buildings in the historic district. I'm not sure where she got that. When she gets back from vacation, I'll ask her. But what was the name? I think it was with PHMC, the person with whom you spoke. There was a name I didn't.
Brian Van Sweden, Bryan. I'll put it in the chat.
Thank you.
Welcome. Yeah, I would say, Jack, before next Thursday, one piece of homework task force members should do is to go back and reread the last draft on the 10th of September. I think it's dated. It's when we met last time. Is to look at the historic overlay section, and they'll look at the supplemental regs on building demolition.
And
So I would say, one way to kind of get refamiliarize is to look at those two sections again, because going back all the way to the July Planning Commission meeting is when this conversation started, and then that's when we started to do the research. So Kirk and Matthew and I collectively worked on this, and then also coordinated with Brian Van Sweden to state what the concern and issue was, and then he was helpful to give us some additional guidance, and then we came up with some language that he said that with some tweaking said that works.
okay, all right. Supplemental regs in the historic overlay section. Got it.
Correct.
In the email, Troy, that you sent to Jason Malott, we got a copy of that. That is like the up-to-date thing that we can use also.
Yeah, that was the same version. Yeah, that was the same version that I sent out to you folks at our last meeting. So I wanted to make sure he had the latest and greatest copy.
Perfect.
Yeah, not sure. He had told me he was going to
So
be
there
on
was no
tonight.
changes in there from what the version you guys. Yeah, the version you guys got is the same version I shared with Jason.
Great.
Okay, is there any further discussion? Jack, Michael?
No,
Are we done yet?
so tired of writing.
We can't even make, can we make a motion to adjourn with 3 people? Or you just end the meeting?
You can do it. It's not gonna, there's no harm there.
So move.
Just to end the meeting, yeah.
And Michael second, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.